our plants are like our kids. And so when we saw this room, I was like, they have a home.
Hi, I'm Andrew.
And I'm LaToya.
And this is our handmade home
in Fayetteville, Georgia.
So if I had to describe our house in 3 words, I would probably use the words light, eclectic, and ours. But it's also destructible because we have 4 kids.
Yeah.
So nothing can be too precious.
Right. Yeah, when people walk through the door, I want people to feel warm. Like, I want them to feel relaxed. I don't want it to be too stuffy. So this is our living room. When we first bought the house, this room was, would you say, Valentine's Day red.
Yeah.
It was very, very, very red. But thankfully, the homeowners left the window treatments, and window treatments can be like so expensive. So decided to really design the whole room around the window treatments. And I also had these 2 amazing pieces of art from a local artist here in Georgia. The 2 pieces went together really well, and so we used that as the inspiration for the whole space. One thing that every home needs is art. I think a lot of times it's an expression of who we are, whether we're conscious of it or not. You know, I always tell people, like, go from your gut when you're picking things, because there's something about that that's resonating with you, whether you're in touch with that or not. So I just think art is so important. Yeah, because I think it's how we can kind of bring ourselves into our space.
So the big picture windows are amazing because they really are like artwork. You look out into the yard, and whenever the seasons change, you're able to just see these amazing things.
We kept the color palette neutral in this space because we wanted to be calming. We also wanted to create a more modern, for us, type feel. I think every time I move into a new house, like, I really feel it out, and I'm just like, what do we want this space to feel like? And I think using those neutrals, we already had the leather couch. We already knew we were bringing those natural organic plants into the space. It just seemed like the way to go.
One of the things that I really love about this space is all of our plants. This is like the kind of the showstopper plants that we have in here, and they're some of my absolute favorites.
Yeah, plants are so important to me in my house because I think plants teach us so much. A lot of times plants teach you about resilience. I had one plant that would die before a new sprout would come out, and kind of this cycle of life is that sense of mindfulness that they bring. You have to really pay attention to your plants. You have to listen to them. And when you just take a break out of your day to just focus on that, it just calms the madness of everything else going on. So another thing I loved about this room was having built-in shelves. So they were just begging for things to put on them. So I've had the opportunity to design everything from residential homes to commercial spaces. But I've always done it within the context of fair trade, ethical, global. So we've gotten a chance to travel together a ton. And I think through our travels, through my travels, I have just come to love handmade. And I think it is a way to show and to appreciate culture. And I think it's also something that we wanted to expose our kids to. The world is a beautiful place. Let's bring it home so that they just like grow up seeing this stuff and it's normal to them. This is a wedding vase from an artist in New Mexico named Angie Yazzie. It's just so beautiful, and it's shiny and it has this wonderful texture to it. So it's made out of mica clay, which you can only find in New Mexico. So Angie literally goes and mines her own clay, brings it home, and builds each piece by hand. We actually got the opportunity opportunity to go to her house and to see her build some of these pieces. And then we got to be a part of a very sacred ceremony, which is when they fire the pieces.
The meaning of it is supposed to be, because it has the two spouts, is it's supposed to have wine in the middle, and then it's supposed to be like the bride and the groom drink from each side of it.
Yeah.
One of the most important things whenever I'm traveling, if I'm going to bring a piece home, is that I really want to make a connection with the artist. So whenever I look at the piece and it's in our home, I want to be able to see the face or the hands of the person that was working on it.
We really seek out the artist and meet them either in their workshop or at their home. When you hold something that's been handmade, you feel less alone because you remember your connection to that person and to that piece. This is another piece that we love. And what's cool about this piece is they actually mix the clay by hand, and then they put faces that represent their Zapotec heritage. So we're looking for those things that just like normal tourists probably can't just buy. I really believe in just designing from your gut and from your intuition. Are there rules? You know, perhaps, but I really believe that like bringing pieces into your home that you connect with, like in your soul and in your gut, I think is the most important. All right, so this is our library. So this is actually the first room that we put together when we moved into the house. We just love it. It's so warm and cozy. I also think it's a great example of putting good design with the functionality of having a family. So we use this table as like our game table, and we make everything nice and kid height. So we've got puzzles and games. But another thing is that we try to be really intentional about our design. So you're also gonna see a lot of cool pieces that represent African Americans as a part of history. Being someone who shops vintage and does a lot of thrifting, I just very rarely find art and photos that reflect that. So we've worked really, really hard to make sure that we reflect that in our home. So this piece is actually my grandfather, which I love and think it's really special.
So one of the things that really matters for us, for our kids, we have a very diverse household, is that representation really matters. So for them, seeing images of people that look like them is super important. So whenever I saw this piece, I just like, I loved it. And then I love this piece, which is her father. He was a Vietnam War veteran. But as you can see, here's our very messy games. But that's a huge part of our design philosophy, is this idea that you can have layers, that you can create a space that doesn't have to be so tidy and perfect and symmetrical.
It's like a snapshot of our life in one room. It makes me smile every time I walk by. So the room behind me is my office, kind of mom cave. So it continues to celebrate my love for plants, of course. And then it also just has little pieces in it that make me really happy. So I've got some great antique pieces that I've collected from Guatemala, more plants, and I also, my little secret is I love collecting Funko Pops. So I've got little Funko Pop collection, and again, it just makes me happy. And then when I get time, I also love to paint. And so this space affords me the ability to be able to do that.
So this is the plant room. I guess if you wanted to get fancy, the arborarium.
Arborarium.
But,
it just doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah, but this is one of your favorite spaces in the entire
Yes. Our plants are like our kids. And so when we saw this room, I was like, they have a home. I would say that we have probably about 100 plants. So it's a lot to take care of. Like watering day is like a whole situation. The fact that we can sit out here year round, enjoy the sun, enjoy our plants. You know, it also functions well for our family as sort of a mud room. It's just such a beautiful, just peaceful place to come and get away from the noise and the house and all the kids and just come and take care of our plants.
My favorite space in the house is our bedroom because it's calm And at the end of the day, with 4 kids and 2 businesses, you need to sleep. And so I love the fact that our bedroom is a calm space. LaToya had to really talk me in the very first time we did a black room. She had to talk me into it.
One of my favorite paint colors in general is black. Black is just so warm and cozy and romantic. And obviously that's what you want in the bedroom. No, right. But no, I think it's just dreamy. And I think a lot of other colors pop off of black as well.
It doesn't feel like a dark room. I think that's one of the things that, like, I wasn't a believer when you first started telling me about black.
Right.
I wasn't a believer, but then now I am, because you see that it doesn't actually take away from the space. It's super bright, it's super beautiful, but it also is not unapproachable. Like, I feel like sometimes I'll see bedrooms and you're just like, wow, do I have to take 170 pillows off the bed before I go to sleep? And like, our bedroom, it feels utilitarian, but also beautiful.
We filled the room with some of our favorite artwork. So we've got Honest Abe here watching over us. So this is a local artist, just a gentleman named Krister. But every so often he paints. And so what he does is he paints over pictures that he finds. And so he just reuses the canvas and the frame and just creates these really whimsical paintings that I just personally have fallen in love with.
So this is my grandfather's self-portrait. I think he was 19 years old whenever he painted this. His name was Leonardo, and he was born in Italy and came here. And him and I share a lot of a temperament, and I think that I get my inspiration for like the artist that I am because of the fact that he came before me. If you look at it, it's actually really interesting because even though it's a self-portrait of him, and you can maybe see a little bit of the resemblance, it's also in the Italian sort of like brutalist style. So he has these lines, he has the shading. It is truly a very Italian piece of artwork, in addition to being an incredibly meaningful kind of like heirloom for us as a family. And so that was actually the first piece of art that was hung in the entire house, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Art is meant to resonate with us. It's meant to communicate what we value. I think it's also meant to give to us what we need. So we've got this piece by another local artist named Kristen Ramsey, and we've got a couple of her pieces in the house. And what I love about Kristen's art is it always just has this positive message. You know, listen to your heart. In the stillness, there is infinite wisdom. And I just think that's just so beautiful. And who doesn't want to be reminded of that, like, every day? We don't ever want to be pigeonholed in our design. You know, this is a very modern piece next to a very antique piece to, the grand gold chandelier.
This is the chandelier that almost killed us, and you know, we try not to spend too much time underneath it because it probably weighs like 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So, but it's real brass. You can see in the detailing, and I mean, it came out of a massive, great room in a house. And I think, again, it's a huge credit to her design philosophy of like, how do you see this in this space? I can't see it, but that's why I have to learn to trust her, because it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. We absolutely love this house.
Yeah, we feel really blessed to be in this place, and this house is exactly right for our family, and it's exactly right for us at this stage of life. And so, we couldn't be any happier.
Yeah, it feels like home.
If you like this video,
give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Handmade
for more home tours just like this.